Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 6 of Being Vulnerable. This is going to be a special episode. We got a special guest, Daniel, or everyone knows him as Neccos for Breakfast. But for the people who don't know you, a little introduction. Go ahead.
Oh, hey, what's up? I'm talking to Carpool, Chris. One of the first guys I actually talked to on here, I think, quite at length. But yeah, I'm Daniel. I'm a teacher. Actually, is my official job, although I'm not really doing that because I have a started a nonprofit, and so I do that education nonprofit, and then I have the music. I got 3 kids. I live in Georgia. I'm I'm younger than I look. No, I'm not. I want to be younger than I look. And I'm trying to decide whether to leave these on or not because I can't really see with them, but I hate wearing glasses on these things. So
Me
that's
too.
my intro.
Me too. I don't wear my glasses. So. Um, well, thank you for being on here, joining us, getting a little vulnerable with the people for today. I did want to ask if you could talk a little bit about your nonprofit. Um, you know.
Yeah, yeah, I will. First I want to say I got to mention all the Prince memorabilia. I think you and I talked about
Oh
that
yeah.
too. But I didn't officially meet Prince, but I stood like about 3 feet from him for a while one time when I was in New York City. He came on a tour in the factory thing I was working at and stood there right there in his shiny yellow leather boots, shiny yellow leather pants, jacket all the way up. It was awesome. That guy right there, in my opinion, is perhaps the most gifted musical genius of all time. So
Yeah.
I had to
And
mention it.
I mean, I haven't mentioned this before, but I was not allowed to listen to Prince when I was younger. Like I Prince was not. I mean, my mom wanted me to, but the society I was around, Prince was not looked at as what he should have
Yeah,
been. And when I
yeah,
finally gave myself permission to listen to Prince and realize how big of an artist he is, like he is one of my biggest inspirations. Like the stuff that he accomplished and
yeah.
his fight against the toxic masculinity of and that whole culture. He he is uh he is one of my biggest heroes because of that.
That's awesome. I also was a late Prince Prince appreciator, but once I did, I realized exactly what he brought. So yeah, I had to bring it up. All right, so my nonprofit, I like how long do you want to hear about it? Because it depends on what I say.
Oh, it's just introducing it to the people for people who don't know, and
All right,
just I mean
like do
how
you
it
want to know
came to
where it came
be.
from? Yeah, all
Yeah,
right,
how
I'll do that. It's interesting stuff. I'll tell you. I told you. Let me step back just a little bit. I did a lot of manual work, and I got injured at work, and ended up getting on workers' comp, and then they dropped me, which happens, and rough time, rough time, and we lost everything right at the time my wife got pregnant with our first daughter. So we
yeah.
lost our house and our cars and everything. Um, and I'm sitting there in the car one night going, "What am I gonna do?" Because I hurt my elbow, and I can't do this stuff anymore. And she's like, I said, the only thing I'm good at is school. Like, if I could just do school for a living. And she was like, well, you could do that. So I'll sum it up. I went back to college at like 30 something and became a teacher. Um, Taught a little high school and then tons of middle school because I love teaching middle school kids. They're just getting their brains functioning to the point they're growing into something special. It's fantastic. Um, and when I did that, I immediately started doing all the stuff that you guys actually know me for: music and art and goofing and poetry. And I like to teach science through art. That's how I always did it. I have this really strong belief in that. So I did that. Um, but here's where it went bad: is the school system, the public education system in this country is not great. In fact, it's also made it turn. Even when I was there, it turned for the worse. I don't know if you know a lot about the way schools are these days, but very sterile, very straightforward. You learn what's on the test. Teachers won't speak about it, but they don't like it either. Basically, it's all teach to the test. It's all follow these standards set up by a board in the state capitol. Um, Everyone knows they're bad, but they do it anyways because the only person who's ever held accountable is the teacher.
Yeah.
Um, and I don't want to get too much into that because it's rough. Like I could start spouting off about how bad it is, but the way I approach things, I bet you won't be surprised. But I get up in class and I'd be like, "All right, kids, welcome to class this year. I'm gonna tell you who I am." I say, first of all, those tests that we all talk about? Like, yeah. I'm like, they suck. They suck so bad. We all know they suck. They're terrible. They don't do anything for you. They're just a tool. I said, so I'm not going to care how you do in the test. I'm going to teach you science, period. And we're going to do it this way. And I have very creative ways of doing it. And kids loved, loved my class. Administrators, not so much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and so what happened was it kind of got worse and worse instead of getting better. And I found more and more that when I did my immersive stuff with kids, I took them overnights to the zoo. I did field trips. I ran an environmental club that actually won international awards because we wrote books. I just encouraged kids to do whatever they wanted to express themselves. So they wrote books, they wrote music, they did art projects. They made paper mache sets and did giant puppet shows, whatever it was to promote conservation and environmentalism. It's called the Environmental Club, and it was huge, like really successful. But it didn't fit in with public school. It just didn't. Again, I don't want to get into the negatives, but I will say to the point that literally other teachers would bully students for being part of my environmental club after school.
Jeez.
It was bad news. Um, so I went to get my master's degree, and I did graduate work in Trinidad and Tobago,
Oh,
doing some
nice.
studies there. And at the end of it, I became really best friends with my instructor. Her name's Bernadette, and she's the most fantastic, amazing scientist. She's a woman, and she blazed trails. I mean, she's brilliant. Um, and her and I just talked and talked. And at the end of the time in Trinidad, we had dinner with the Minister of Education from Trinidad and Tobago. And she was like, you know what? We like to do things to thank them. Anybody have any creative ideas? And I said, well, let's write a song. And so I wrote a song called Trini Trini. And I taught all the other people that were all my other fellow students the song that day. And then that night we performed it for the Minister of Education. And it was special. It was really good. It was a cappella and it was all about the wildlife in Trinidad and about the people. It's not released anywhere officially, so I can't share it with people. I was thinking about that the other day. I gotta get it out there. But I'm telling you this for a reason, by the way.
Yeah, no.
But that song comes out, it just was a hit. In fact, Shed Aquarium, which is Chicago's aquarium, the biggest aquarium in the United States, or was at one point, they did a book on the ocean in Trinidad and Tobago, and they actually asked, and the lyrics for the song are printed in the back of the book. It's like it was good, and it got some acknowledgments. And I had the kids sing it in my club, and we recorded it. They had a band called the Tree Huggers, and we recorded them singing it, and it's beautiful. So it made it became known that this is what I had done, right? Then the next year, I did more graduate work in Kenya. I went to Kenya for this class, and in Kenya, the Maasai, they music is part of their lives, man. I mean, they communicate with it. It's just part of what they do. A very unique style. They don't really use instruments. It's call and response. It's vocal, and they use their jewelry. I don't know if you've seen Maasai, but they have all the beaded jewelry, and they like shake like this and stuff like that while they're performing it. It shakes, and like that's their rhythm. So music was huge, right? Get back from that, and I told you I take kids to the Cincinnati Zoo overnights. I became good friends with the director, the COO of the whole zoo, because he was on those trips with me.
Yeah.
And one day, okay, this is where it happens. You're gonna find it. This is where it happens. One day, he says to me, you should get your kids to do something with them kids in Africa, the Maasai. So he was thinking, like, I'm sure he was thinking internet, like get something together. 9 months later, I had 9 kids with me in Kenya. 9 months later, I was so inspired about it. It was probably the hardest thing I've ever done. I was actually in the hospital a couple times with heart pains because it was just brutal. I mean, we had to raise $100,000. Like I don't even know what I was thinking if I had to go do it again. But I took nine kids to Kenya, and um, we wrote and recorded an original album there with Maasai kids and Maasai women. Um, and it's I believe I haven't had anybody tell me yet, but I believe it's the first time some of this stuff has ever happened and still has never happened again. So the CD is in Maasai, Swahili, and English, um, and it's called the Maasai Music Project. And the like, at one point, one of our girls led the Maasai kids in a call and response because there's like a lead singer that does the initial calls, and they taught her the Maasai, and we did a performance for the community where she was the lead singer,
Oh.
and then everybody, and I guarantee that's never happened. A girl from the U.S. Leading a Maasai traditional song. But we did cool stuff. We combined Western and Maasai. We did all kinds of cool stuff. And it's very unknown. Someday I think someone's going to hear that, and it's something special. But it wasn't about promoting me or anything. It was about the project. So this ended up being something I repeated 2 or 3 more times, and also I became really close with the Maasai in Kenya. They call me their brother. Actually branded my arm,
Oh,
um,
nice.
Maasai style, um, because we've always gone there in a different way than most other people. I've always made it a very strong point in my activities that I'm not here as a charity. I'm not here to I'm not here to take from you, or I'm not here to save you either.
Yeah.
We're here to be together. Does that sound familiar? It's like I'm with all my reflections recently, I've discovered that this is who I've always been, and I just never recognized it. But for me, community and coming together is the most important thing. And that's what I've always done with my nonprofit, which started with Kenya, because that's new. People come in to Africa and they're either there to take, which means they go in, they get their cool footage of animals, they take their pictures of Maasai with all their beads and colors, and then they take them back and they go put them in magazines and sell magazines, or they put them jewelry in their shops and sell it, or
Mhm.
they do research
Yeah.
and then take the research with them. And back in Africa, the Maasai are still there living their lives, right?
Yeah.
So, um, so we go in there like, hey, we're not here to take from you, and we're also not here to give. Like, we're not trying to tell you we know better. Like, let's get together and talk about stuff. Let's do environmental things. Let's teach me everything you do, and we'll tell you what we do. Um, and that's the basis of it. Community crossing across oceans, right? Side point, I always did at the end of every trip make a gift to the school that we work with there. Solar lights and supplies and things like that. And I donate money to the women's group. So when I say I'm not there to give them things, I still support stuff that could use, needs to be supported.
Yeah.
It's just not the point of it, right? So I was at a school and I got moved to a school because they told me I was causing too much of a ruckus with my environmental club, and they demoted me to a lower school, which was beautiful because I met some great people. But I met Julie Milky, who was a teacher there. She said, "Hey, I heard about this Africa thing you're doing. I think you need some help. Like, I want to go." So then what happened was she went to Africa with me, and we realized we got to try this again with students, get students out, change their whole world. So we worked with another company. It took a group to the Galapagos Islands, and when we went there, at one point we were teaching about volcanoes, about how the pyroclastic flows go and all this stuff. Meanwhile, we were standing on the lip of a volcano that we had hiked up to, and instead of a book, he was pointing at stuff like, over here you see in this, and the kids were sitting there, and then afterwards they were like, I learned more in 10 minutes than I learned my entire year in geology, and and then the experience of other cultures, and it changes their lives.
Yeah.
But the way this company did it was like kind of like school does things, sterile and uh, unflexible, and just not the way. So we got home and we're like, dude, we could do this. We could do it better. So that's when we officially started the Sprout experience. Um, which started out as an LLC because we didn't understand how things worked. But then in
Yeah.
2016, but in 2020, we finally got our nonprofit status because that really represents what we do more than a business. And it quickly became a lot more than just international travel. We did all kinds of things. The whole point is this: it's programming, it's centered on youth, and it's inspire and change lives. And you do that by immersive experiences. Whatever you do it for real.
Yeah.
You don't, it's not pretending. You don't go with them and learn, oh, this is what scientists do. Let me show you what scientists do. So that's what they would really do. No, we take them and they work with the scientists and do the thing. If they collect data, it's for a current project. We have kids inject microchips in leatherback sea turtles on restricted beaches, like big time stuff,
Yeah.
but also little. We do like cooking classes where instead of just giving them bowls and say, okay, kids, pour everything together, they spend a whole day learning how the restaurant runs. They learn how to cook pizzas in a wood fire oven. And then we have a day where they invite two guests. It's like a formal thing, and they take their orders. This is for younger kids, take their orders, prepare their food, serve it, get a tip. So it's like the real experience of running it or working for a restaurant. So apply that to anything, songwriting workshops, traveling, whatever. That's what we do.
You do experiential learning. I
Yeah.
actually worked for the Career Center at my college for a while, and they also ran study abroad there and experiential learning and research because CU Denver is a research-based school. And so like a lot of the stuff, a lot of their study abroad stuff, they were doing positive things going out there. Like they went to Puerto Rico to rebuild houses and stuff after the hurricane hit there. They also did the same with Haiti. Um, I know we have our medical program is connected to Africa. They go to Uganda and get to work in a hospital but yeah, so you are doing some great work and you got there on your own compared to like, um,
Yeah.
I know the people who work with study abroad office and they
Yeah.
can be it's all about money for a lot of them.
Well, yeah. And I didn't, could I explain a nuance, a little nuance? It's pretty interesting. I kept mentioning that we don't do it to bring people things. I want to be clear that I don't think it's wrong to help in a practical way,
Yeah.
for sure. In fact, I do it myself, and I love programs like you said that rebuild schools and do all that stuff. Um, what's interesting about what I do though is I feel like there's a niche, as they say, that's underserved.
Yeah.
Like everybody does the building and the digging wells and the practical stuff. Nobody goes like we do and just says, "Hey, we're here. Let's be people together." Like for real.
Yeah.
And the way it changes both lives, both there and the kids that come back, is truly incredible. When they realize Maasai living in basically mud huts in the middle of African savannah, way out, are just like them, it changes everything. You cannot be racist after you make best friends with somebody from a different culture with a different skin color and different everything, but then you connect for
Yeah.
real. You can't go back. Like how do you how can you be a bigot or prejudiced or hateful if you crossed all those lines when you were 15 or 14, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it doesn't get there if you're doing service. If you're building a school, you're not going to get there. You're there in a role. You know what I mean? You're a
Yeah.
role of I'm coming to do this service for you. It doesn't get crossed. But what we do is different, and I'm so proud of it. That's why. So does that make sense? What I'm
Yeah,
saying?
no, yeah, you're talking about the cultured experience, which one thing that because do these students probably choose to go on these?
Yeah, some of them work for 2 years to be able to go. Yeah, it's a big
I,
yeah.
I feel like some of the people who should go on these are the people who don't want to go on it.
It's
That
true.
like the bigots and stuff, like or like
It's true.
people raised in that kind of household, their kids might not, they might have already racist beliefs and stuff like that, or their parents
It,
are not going to send them to Africa.
It's true. It's true. But I'll tell you a couple of things. For one, um, I've had a number of kids whose one of their parents was like you just said,
Mhm. Okay.
basically a bigot because they're like, I ain't sending my kid to Africa because Africa is not an entire continent full of vibrant, amazing, beautiful cultures. It's
Right.
just Africa, and you know who lives there. Um, and so that kid, by the way, was in that culture, but maybe hadn't decided yet. That's the point about because you also mentioned the study abroad. A lot of that's college.
Yeah.
Tons of it's college. That's what else we do different. I take kids when they're 14,
Yeah.
13. They haven't, in all my years teaching and all my years traveling, I've probably met about two kids that I felt might have been ruined at that age already.
Okay.
I've seen all kinds of variations in how they perceive the world, but if they haven't got to that point where it's they haven't learned it yet fully. And so a trip like that, I've seen it change people like at that age. That's my like what you're saying. They might come from a house where they didn't feel that way at first, but it can literally permanently change their view of everything.
Yeah.
Um, the really really bad ones, you're right. If both parents are bigots and they think what we do is stupid, yeah. Although I've had kids that didn't feel that way and basically badgered and pressed and saved before they got to go, even despite their parents not really wanting them to be part of it. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they allowed them. I didn't like kidnap kids to go, but but no, it's a nuance. I
Yeah.
think I. It's not like every kid who goes is an adventure-seeking, open-minded, progressive, wonderful. No, they're all kinds go with us. Trust me, all kinds of backgrounds and politics and everything. And so, once in a while it doesn't affect them as much because they're already sort of decided. Oftentimes I would go with politics. It's probably the one thing that doesn't change much
Yeah.
because what does politics have to do with people? Nothing. Right. But as far as like how you view other cultures and food and like people of different skin colors and different kind of music and all that, I very rarely does somebody not completely change or
Yeah.
or get it. You know what I mean?
No, yeah. And like it's such an admirable thing that you're doing, and even how it came to be and how it started. Like there was a lot of heart and kindness I could tell from coming out of you, and wanting to make an impact on people. And
Yeah. Yeah,
yeah.
I would say that my blessing and my curse is the same, Chris, as with most things. Um, I do everything. If you see me doing something, it's probably for mostly altruistic reasons, and mostly because I want I want to do the right thing and be bring people together. So that's led to some in just the stories I could tell, the endless, wonderful, the bank account not so wonderful. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The world we live
My,
in makes you choose.
yeah, because my strength and my weakness is the same. It's a curse and a blessing. Is
Yeah,
empathy is my number one thing, and it
yeah,
people take advantage of it. I also get too empathic sometimes, and it leads me to do altruistic things or just things like that hurt me, like
yeah,
taking time out of my day to like help someone move without not even like I'm a yes man in that way.
yeah.
I rarely tell someone no because if I tell them no, I'm telling them I'm giving them failure and I don't want to feel their failure or like,
I get it.
especially my little cousins and stuff. They always have me doing stuff that I'm like, I could be using my time to make music to actually work and stuff, but it's hard to tell a little kid no. For
It
me, like
is
it's because it makes me feel so bad. Um,
my my son. That's my. Fortunately, he went to go pick up some stuff with my wife, so I could tell you about him. He's the one that rips me up like that because he's a little kid, like you said. Um, but he's got baggage, and it's a very interesting story. Um, he's Can I tell you a little bit about him?
yeah, I've been I, I've seen your son in your videos and stuff. He
Yeah.
looks like he's such a fun, like
Oh,
just
he's
in Disco Helmet Man. He looks like he's
yeah,
having
yeah.
a blast with you.
He loves music. I mean, deeply. He also loves what I'm doing with social media, and none of my other kids have ever really gotten into it, no matter
Yeah.
what. I mean, they're supportive and they both love music too, but Fiddy, something about it. He's right there. Um, so people might notice, and I get it, that he doesn't look exactly like me, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, so this was an empathetic thing I did too. This kind of sums it up, but this one's been all blessing. It's hard, but all blessing. My cousin has a problem with drugs, real bad. Um, and she had 3 kids in a row that couldn't stay with her. First one ended up living with her grandma. Yeah, I think he's 18 now. Second one, Aaron, um, my parents actually adopted her, so she's kind of my little sister. She's like 15 now. But we heard that her mom got pregnant again. This time she was in jail and pregnant. And and we said, we can't let that baby, can't let Aaron's whoever go off into wherever the system.
Yeah.
Um, so we went to foster parent school and everything. And then we said we said we'll take that baby no matter what before he was born. We didn't know if it was a boy or a girl. We didn't know if it was healthy. We didn't know if he was race or
Yeah.
background, anything. We just said we'll take him. In fact, we met him when he was 3 days old. The social worker brought him to our house in a uh, car seat carrier, and we literally met him. We had no idea still anything about if he was even a boy or a girl, and we just pulled down and looked at him and met him right then. Um, so that was an empathetic thing, I think. But the baggage that comes with that. So now he's adopted. Um, and I used to worry about adoption that like maybe I would look at him differently. Like you say you won't, you're like, oh,
Yeah.
you're our family too. But I always worried like, oh, what if something's different? I gotta tell you, the absolute monstrous love I feel I have for that kid. He is my heart and soul. In fact, what he went through and his adoption and all probably even strengthened the bond. Like I have this weird like, yeah. So when you said empathy, like when he gets upset, man, it's hard for me. I don't want to spoil him, and I don't. I work hard at that, but man, I want to make him happy all the time. I don't know what it is, but he's a kid. He's my son. He's also, he struggles with um, separation anxiety real bad. So I am his life. Like he needs to be with me. Um, so yeah, I experienced that a lot trying to deal with what's best for the situation and what will make him feel really happy right now. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And we're doing a good job. We're doing good. Um, but yeah, he has diagnosed separation anxiety because you spend 9 months as close to someone as you could possibly be, literally in their belly,
Yeah.
having their same heartbeat, and then he was delivered and never saw her again. Boom.
Yeah.
That's not something you could put like a diagnosis on. Like, when does that run out? I don't know. It hasn't yet. He's got a terrible fear that people are going to leave him. So
I
I don't know.
I I have a anxiety with abandonment, but it has to do with because when I was born, I had jaundice, and they put
Mm-hmm.
me in a incubator for 2 weeks, and that really affected my upbringing as a
Yeah, it
kid.
does. That's crucial, right?
Yeah,
I mean, so you understand that for sure, for sure. And so that's a big motivating force in my whole life. So thought it
yeah,
would be
that's
appropriate to tell you that.
it. Like, because I haven't really delved into that aspect of what it actually did cause me. And now like just looking at it now, like I'm relationships, like when I get heartbroken, I get heartbroken. Like, and it like my first time ever thinking about taking my own life was in 6th grade when I got heartbroken. I felt like I couldn't live in the world anymore when my girlfriend left me, and
Yeah.
And yeah, I that was my first time even feeling that feeling of heartbreak, and I just couldn't take it. I actually threw a tantrum in school, and everyone surrounded me, and like it I had to go to therapy, all this stuff because of um a heartbreak, but it was being abandoned. And I've known I had it, but I just hadn't kind of evaluated exactly that. But you just
Yeah.
allowed that to me.
Well, no, that's because that's what happens is it's not the actual that moment's action that causes that much pain, that wave. Like as you when you look back, you can see like it had to be more than that particular person saying that particular thing to me. So what else is it, right?
Yeah,
And that's once you kind of look at life that way, it answers a lot of questions and also maybe gives you a little bit of breathing room. Like, I understand there's more going on here.
yeah. Hello, everyone. Something bad happened last night where the file got corrupted for the second recording of me and Neccos For Breakfast's video. Um, I was heartbroken by this morning when I tried to find the file and it was corrupted, and I lost that whole conversation. There was a lot of important things that we spoke about, speaking about our mental health and stuff. It would have been unfair for me to ask Neccos or Daniel to speak those stories with me again. I know we had some rough conversations, but they were therapeutic for me, and hopefully they were therapeutic for him as well, and that it didn't go to waste. I know in my heart it didn't, because I got to learn more about Daniel and continue our friendship and our bond. We did both speak about how we are the first people that we've spoke to on Threads, and how we lack trust in social media and trying to make actual positive connections on there. And like we thought we both had the same experience of like people trying to sell us stuff, or I got catfished by Elton John. Um, Long story. And we found our first person to trust in one another. And because of that, we both became parts of the community and became more engaging and trusting in others. And that was a powerful thing that we came to, because we had no idea that we both felt that like that, and that both happened to us. Um, the other biggest thing is his nonprofit. It is struggling. He has 1 month left to for the budget that he has, and he needs any help that he can get in donations or just sharing his nonprofit with other people. Um, you heard previously how important the nonprofit was, and how much passion he has for it, and how just everything that he's doing is great work with it, and the world would be worse off without um, his nonprofit in the world. I know it'll it'd be better with it in the world. So if you can at all support anything you can, or just time, show them that you care, and share it with others. If you know anyone who would be willing to support something like this, please send them his story. Have them watch my section on this, being vulnerable, where he speaks the whole story of how it came to be, or just even just the good things that he's doing for people. And I really want to apologize to Daniel for my mistake of corrupting a file. Oh yeah, I'm still gonna try to record another video with Neccos, with Daniel. He also spoke about he's releasing a new TikTok channel, and he got like he got like a promoter or something like that who's gonna be allowing him to do these live videos, and he's be able to reach so many more people. And he did offer to do a Being Vulnerable episode on his live TikTok. So I am gonna take him up on that, and we will continue our conversation there when 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 that happens. But thank everyone for joining. Again, apologize for technical difficulties, but tune in next week. I got some big guests coming up. Um, I got Brenna Menz and Jordan Coley. I hope I pronounced that right. Yeah, and hope y'all have a good rest of your day. Stay safe, and see you at Demo Nation tomorrow.